And you did have Texas on the goal line going in to score with right around 2 minutes to go before Jack Sawyer takes the fumble off Quinn Ewers to the house for the game-sealing touchdown. But it was a fun game. It was a good game, a good one that you thought maybe if Texas could hit a big play, they could take the lead or tie the game there at the end, and who knows what ends up happening in overtime. I will say this, and I felt the same way about the Orange Bowl on Thursday night. I am really glad neither one of those games went to overtime because, and I know the Peach Bowl last week or 2 weeks ago now did go to overtime. I have so little faith in the overtime process of college football now because it is so convoluted, and once you get past that second overtime, you just turn it into a 2-point conversion contest. That's not indicative of what a full football game and subsequent 2 overtimes have led up to, where I feel like that's how we should be deciding things, especially on a stage like the college football playoff semifinals to determine who's going to go play for a national championship. Could you imagine if next week's national championship game was suddenly a 2-point shootout between Ohio State and Notre Dame? Sure, that's exciting, and you're hinging on every single play, but I feel like that's not a just way to end these games. I feel like we need to restructure college football playoffs over time. I didn't think it was bad before when we just, had alternating possessions and you had to go for 2 after the second possession, all that kind of stuff, but we've completely screwed it up with this 2-point conversion contest that I do hope they do away with. But neither of those things happened when it came to the college football playoff semifinals. And again, we got another fun game on Friday night with Ohio State picking up the victory and now going to take on Notre Dame in the national championship. A national championship game that features 2 teams that I think the collective public probably hates more than most. Now, look, every team, especially in college sports, is always going to have a section of people that dislike them, right? Like when Clemson was playing for its national championships over the past decade or so, everybody here in Columbia was probably rooting for Alabama or LSU or whoever they ended up playing in those games. And that's certainly the case everywhere. But when you think of like 2 brands that overall are more hated than others, Ohio State and Notre Dame in college football, at least, are typically going to be pretty close to the top. And look, I'm not saying that it's not deserving of being in the national championship game. They obviously both earned their way through, but I'm interested to see what the public perception of who they're going to be cheering for is going to be for this game. Because again, a lot of people hate Notre Dame, a lot of people hate Ohio State, and one of those teams, either Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman, will be winning a national championship next week. Maybe the Marcus Freeman effect makes Notre Dame a little more likable compared to Ryan Day on the other side. Because again, Ryan Day says outlandish things sometimes, funny enough, playing Notre Dame again, whereas Lou Holtz. Maybe it's the fact that Marcus Freeman is more likable and, better looking person than Ryan Day that makes Notre Dame the more sentimental favorite to the collective public of America as opposed to Ohio State. But again, two programs that garner a lot of hate for, their standing in college football, games they've won, people that have coached them, all that kind of stuff. And one of them can be a national championship come next Monday.
The women and men who will go, wow, that Marcus Freeman's dreamy, might root for Notre Dame, especially when you look at Ryan Day. No one's doing this. Wow, that Ryan Day's dreamy. You ever thought that?
No, I've not.
Ever run that through your head?
I've thought, wow, that's a lot of just for men in that beard, isn't it?
No doubt. Wait, they use a little brush or something, don't they, when they do that just for men?
Yeah, well, you have touch of gray, where once you've gotten past a point, you can kind of work it in. But is he 50 now? He's past the point where it shouldn't still be jet black, right?
Oh, that thing is I love those Sports Center anchors who had this jet black hair for a while, and all of a sudden one day, they're on and then half their head's gray.
You have to make it a gradual process.
You can't just go cold turkey.
Exactly.
That's like the guy that's bald on Friday and shows up on Monday with a hair transplant.
Yeah. It's dude, we know, right?
It's wow, man.
At least if you integrate a little bit of gray, people be like, oh, okay, that's not as shocking.
Absolutely. Anyway, it's funny. This is a game of 2 programs that most people don't like. Let's just be honest. Notre Dame's probably, if you scan the country, they're probably more people who like Notre Dame than like Ohio State because Notre Dame is a national brand.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they have Subway alumni. There are a lot of people that either grew up watching them on NBC or watching their Notre Dame football highlights on the weekends or whatever.
Well, because they were the first program that you could see every single week on television, which is also why a lot of people hate them.
Absolutely. And to me, that's why I don't hate them because, again, I don't hate teams anymore. I save my hate for the people who affect my life, like the guy mowing his lawn at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday.
Well,
when
and
I'm
the
trying
Pittsburgh
to sleep.
Steelers.
Yeah, I don't really hate the Steelers. I mean, don't get me. I will not lie though. I was enjoying the hell out of the first half of that playoff game on Saturday.
There goes another touchdown. Derrick Henry slapping Mickey Fitzpatrick across the face.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that too. And I was kidding with a buddy of mine who was a Steeler fan. I said, "Did you notice that I said, hey Steve, you know that the Ravens had to have the locker room closed for an extra 15 minutes for the media?" And he goes, "Oh, I didn't hear that. Why?" He goes, "They were picking Steelers out of their cleats." So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but I don't really have a hate for this. I don't hate the Steelers. I enjoy watching them lose, but I don't have a hate.
There's a difference between a rabid hatred and, oh, they lost, good.
Yeah, I've just gotten so past that now where it's like the Steelers losing because I'm too broke to bet on it, so it doesn't affect my life.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I just, like, when my favorite teams lose now, I'll just go like this, well, that sucked. Okay, what's on Netflix?
Right.
I don't get all, like, when I was younger, I was insane. But now it's like, like the Ravens. That game I thought it would be much closer. It wasn't good, but we'll see what happens, and we'll get into it, obviously, what happens next weekend in Buffalo. But going back to Notre Dame and, Ohio State, Notre Dame probably has more fans who like them in the country because Ohio State, again, they just don't have that built-up national brand and presence that Notre Dame does.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, we might even do a Twitter poll this week of which program do you dislike more? Which program would you like to see, not win, but lose to make it really go down a nice road? But make no mistake, I don't think either one of these programs is a plucky underdog who everybody goes, wow, that'd be really cool to see them win. Like TCU a couple years ago.
Sure. That was a neat story.
Yes. And again, they beat Michigan, which was great. Now they're playing for the championship. Now they're 4 quarters away from going from unranked to winning a national title. And Georgia just tore them apart. But and quick. But, this isn't one of those. You don't have a plucky underdog or anything like that. You have 2 behemoth programs with a lot of resources and a lot of money. And in Notre Dame's case, has for really a long time, for the most part, underachieved to what we think they should be. And you have Ohio State, who is the most consistent big-time winning program in America over, 50 years or whatever it is?
Yeah,
40
roughly.
years?
I mean, look, they're good for seemingly a national championship about every 10 years, and we're kind of falling right in line with that.
I forgot. You and I looked this up, and I can't remember the last time the only losing season they've had probably in my lifetime or yours is when Tressel got kicked to the curb over Tatgate, and Luke Fickell stepped in. They went 6-7 or something.
Yeah, it was one year, and again.
What did they do with Fickell?
Yeah, they kicked him to the curb and brought in Urban Meyer, which, I mean, is 1 year fair? Probably not, but still, they ended up okay because Meyer obviously got him a championship within 3 years. And I think that's the standard that Ryan Day has been judged on. It's like, Tressel, national champion, head coach, Urban Meyer, national championship head coach. You got us there. When are you going to bring home the trophy? And now he's got the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and, the thing with Ryan Day is, you got handed a Rolls Royce, you got handed a Lambo, and so far you've been passed by, Toyotas at times. And it just, there's games you should have won, or in big-time games where, Ohio State typically will at some point win those games. You haven't won them. Now you have the chance. You are 4 quarters of football away. By the way, you might end up being a double-digit favorite before this thing's over with.
Yeah, line's 8 right now.
And you should win the football game. So that's what you got, Ryan. And if you lose it, no one's going to go, well, gee, at least you got to the champion. No. You should win this game if you're Ohio State.
Especially with the roster that you have.
That's what I mean. On paper, this isn't close.
And most people penciled you in to be here prior to the season. No, we didn't see the path to getting here that ended up being, but still, you have the opportunity to still end up where everyone thought you were going to be.
On both sides of the ball, you're better.
Yes.
You just are.
Yes.
If we broke down position by position, you're going to win that battle over Notre Dame.
Yes.
Unless you turn the rock over multiple times in your own red zone, you should take out Notre Dame.
Yep.
So guess what, Ryan? You ain't off the hook, dude.
Not yet.
Not yet. You're not. And by the way, guys named Les Miles and Ed Orgeron won national championships. So you don't have to be Nick Saban to win a national championship, Ryan Day.
Sure.
All right, we're hanging around your halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare is here. A busy, crazy weekend of football in college and the NFL. We'll get to it all. And plus the transfer portal smiling again on South Carolina. We'll get to it next on The Game. If you're going to go look up his Pro Football Focus grades, you're not going to be wowed. We'll see how he translates to the SEC. There were schools in the Power Four besides South Carolina, according to the rumors, that were interested in Miles.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something there. I mean, if you just look at the grades in Pro Football Focus, you're going, but for South Carolina and other Power Four schools to be talking to Miles, there's got to be some type of upside, or they saw something on tape, or maybe he plays better a certain technique. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what Wes and Chris were talking about. Having dug up a little bit of his tape, and you got to dig pretty deep to find some Bowling Green stuff. But again, he's got decent size, 6'5", 275. Could probably stand to put on a few more pounds, but he's somebody that kind of in a 3-man front. It sounds like he played some outside stuff, which that is kind of like a size of an edge type of player. So maybe somebody that they can move around a little bit. And look, him being brought in doesn't mean he's going to be your main guy. And again, we know the defensive line likes to rotate, and it's just another body you add to the room for a place that's going to be really a big open competition, because you have, a handful of guys, including Miles, that have experience, but none of them like a ton of experience outside of Nick Barrett, who's obviously been with the program for a while now. So it's a wide open competition, and again, this is just another body in the room that if they like what they see in him and can develop into a certain point, can become a contributor. But as we always have to kind of think about when we look at all these guys coming in from the portal, not every single one of them is going to make an impact. Not every single one of them is going to find their way to the field or be a major contributor on the offense or the defense. Some of these guys are just bodies. Some of these guys are just depth, and they end up being, kind of afterthoughts once the season finally gets here. And I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but that's something you always have to keep in mind with these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're trying to add depth in a position where you need depth. Like, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy was a very highly recruited 5-star, high 4-star, depending on whatever ranking service you looked at. Prospect coming out of high school, went to A&M, had some injury issues and things of that nature, never really got the run in College Station, but he's a guy that comes with a pedigree from high school. What does that mean? We'll find out. A Devontae Miles, again, there must be something that folks, and maybe it's as simple as this. We like some of his ability. He just needs to put on some LBs.
Sure.
Maybe he's too light. Maybe he's a tweener, and maybe he wasn't used correctly at Bowling Green. Whatever the case, but it's a depth piece, if nothing else. But then if you take and you look at the two guys you brought through the portal, in Brownlow-Dindy and Miles, and you add it to Goodwine, who's coming back, Barrett, who's coming back, Hardy coming in from the JUCO ranks, and any of the other young'uns that you can be next man up, so to speak, you're rebuilding your rotation.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to sit here and go, could be just as good as last year? Well, you got to go, can you get in the neighborhood? Because last year you had a group of dudes who had played a ton of football, and by the time last year rolled around, they were really good.
Yeah, I think this is the one position group that, like I said, it's going to be an open competition, but one that we're probably going to know the least about coming into the season. Because, again, you have Goodwine, who played a little bit here, but was just a part of the rotation. Brownlow-Dindy, who, again, didn't really get much playing time at A&M. Have a Miles guy that was a rotational guy at Bowling Green. Hardy coming from the JUCO ranks. Again, Nicky Barrett's probably the one we know the most about, but even he was just kind of a rotational guy for his time here at South Carolina. So I think this is going to be the group that has the biggest question mark about it. But, again, if you can have good depth and maybe find one more guy to add in there, you'd probably feel pretty comfortable with what you had, and just hope that the spring, summer, and fall camp get these guys to the development point of where you can rely on them.
Yeah, again, you are hoping, if nothing else, that you can rotate these guys and they can be solid. And the fact that you're rotating them, they'll be fresh in the fourth quarter to help you win football games. So that's the latest from the transfer portal with South Carolina. Nothing popping as of yet else. But,
Still waiting on Cisse to make his decision, and that's kind of the last one for now, it seems like.
Yeah, and there'll be another portal opening coming up in the spring as well. So, all right, and then, once we finish up with the college football playoff, the championship game, you got two schools who guys can go in the portal.
That's right.
So still stuff to do when it comes to transfer portal. All right, yesterday, that was a whooping.
Whew.
That was a whooping by the Gamecock women on Texas.
That was go out to the woodshed, pick your switch, and bend over. It's going to hurt.
I've always heard those stories. Hey, boy, go outside and break me off a tree branch so I can whoop you. I never had that one. My dad, I got a couple in my life, not a lot. But I got like about 3 or 4,
Sure.
which I didn't deserve, obviously.
Of course not. It's someone else's fault.
That's right.
I was framed.
Tried to blame him. Dog did it. Dog looks at me and goes, "You're right, bub."
Yeah, the dog crashed the car.
So, but I've heard stories of go outside and break me off a switch so I can beat you. And I remember the story when I brought the switch in. That wasn't big enough.
Yeah, if it's not big enough, then you get hit either harder or they go find a bigger one.
And you don't want them to go look for the switch.
It's like we're giving you the opportunity to find something that we can both agree on.
Yeah, so you can find something kind of medium to where, okay, this isn't going to hurt that bad, but it's not going to be them picking it out.
Yes.
Which I won't be able to sit for a week. But that's kind of what happened to Texas. Dawn just walked over to old Vic and said, why don't you go pick a switch out?
Yeah, I mean, they punched them in the face from the get-go. And look, this is a very talented team, a team that's deep, maybe not as deep as South Carolina is, but one that we talked about going into the matchup like, hey, they can give you some problems. Madison Booker, one of the best players in all of women's college basketball, held her in check. And when you render a team's best player effectively useless for most of the game, then you're probably going to win.
And, again, there was no Ashlyn Watkins, but I tell you what, Fagan stepped up.
Big time.
6 blocks, also 8 points, 4 or 5 from the floor, 9 rebounds. Let's get to cut 26, Dave, from Dawn Staley. Talk about Shania Fagan and how well she played yesterday against Texas. Again, cut 26, Dave.
I mean, she's just giving it up on both sides of the basketball. She is, I think once a player has a breakthrough of just not putting obstacles in front of them, they just have the breakthrough. She didn't. I mean, she had a pretty good game. I mean, from a statistical standpoint, but all the other stuff, the intangibles, she always kept her feet above the bigs. She was communicating out there and directing, and when you have someone that has sat for as long as she sat, and is playing as well as she played, that is it. That's what we've been trying to get from Fagan for 3 years now. Her freshman year, she coasted. She just let Aaliyah do what she needed to do, and then she coasted.
On this team that, hey, one of our best players is not here for the rest of the year. It's not going to be one of us that replaces her. It's going to be all of us playing a certain role. And again, talking about blocking 6 shots, that's Ashlyn Watkins to a T, and Shania Fagan was able to do that yesterday.
By the second TV timeout, I was sitting here going, unless something changes dramatically, this is going to be a boat racing.
Yeah, they couldn't. Texas couldn't make a shot to save their lives, but really the entire game, but especially in the first quarter.
If South Carolina doesn't turn it over 22 times, they might win by 40.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean,
that was the only real flaw you had in the game.
That was it. Dominant. Besides that, all right. Just in case you woke up, breaking news coming out of the NFL. Just not a surprise, and probably how it all went down. That's next. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare till 3 on the game. Oh, what? Just in case you just woke up, sponsored by the Gutterman. Well, forget just waking up. This just happened during the last segment.
It was right as the show was starting. I got the notification. So within the last half hour.
Okay, this is according to sources. Adam Schefter at ESPN. Todd Archer, the Cowboy reporter, just posted a story on ESPN. Mike McCarthy is not expected to return as the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Is now set to become a free agent. McCarthy's contract expired last Wednesday. Team held an exclusive negotiating window with the coach until this Tuesday at midnight. It gives you roughly a week.
Yep.
However, the sides have not had any negotiations regarding a new deal, sources told Adam Schefter on Monday. Now, this is all very interesting because the Chicago Bears asked permission to talk to Mike McCarthy about their head coaching gig, and the Cowboys gave him the big one-finger salute.
Yep. Nope, not going to do that.
No, we're not. And
so that gave you the thought that, okay, well, I guess he's going to return, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're blocking him from seeking potential employment elsewhere, then surely they're not going to screw him over a couple days later.
No.
Well, guess what?
Here's my feeling, and it says in here, now the Bears still don't have a head coach, neither the Saints, and they're expected to be interested in speaking with McCarthy. According to this story from Todd Archer, last week McCarthy and owner and general manager Jerry Jones and executive vice president Stephen Jones, yeah, they're related, spoke at
How'd
least
you get
3
that
times.
job, Stephen?
Because of your skill and ability? No. Lucky genetics.
Yeah, right.
I hit the genetic lottery. Okay, the initial discussions were about what happened in 2024, going through the normal end-of-season protocol. The other days were about the future and what could change, either in the Cowboys' approach to roster building, McCarthy's approach to offense, and McCarthy's approach to his coaching staff. Okay, we say the word change. There's 3 scenarios right there we just heard. 2 of them involve McCarthy changing something.
Yes.
The Cowboys went 7-10. And they were not playing very well before all the injuries started. But make no mistake, that roster was not built to make the playoffs. It was not built to win championships. You had 1 wide receiver, 0 running backs, an offensive line that was going in the wrong direction ability and performance-wise, a defense that couldn't stop the run, just wanted to rush the passer. And that's what you handed Mike McCarthy, an undersized defense, by the way, in the front 7.
Yep.
That's what you handed Mike McCarthy and said, okay, bud, go make the playoffs with this.
Yeah.
So, again, the roster was flawed. Now, who's the general manager?
A Jones.
Okay, why didn't the owner fire the general manager?
Because it's his son.
It just, the whole thing is so upside down. You handed him a roster that wasn't going to be competitive regarding getting in the playoffs. Start with that. 2, I guarantee you undermined your head coach at every turn.
Of course.
That doesn't help either.
That's what he does.
Every player has Jerry Jones's phone number in their Rolodex. And Jerry loves it. They love the fact that the guys come to him because his ego and his love of control, that's what he wants. Look, Mike McCarthy, I've said this before. Is Mike McCarthy the greatest head coach in the history of football? No. But I think Mike McCarthy's a better head coach than we give him credit for.
Sure.
McCarthy won a Super Bowl. I hear this year, but he had Aaron Rodgers. Well, how many other Super Bowls has Aaron Rodgers won since McCarthy left? Not to be a jerk.
The knock on him was not being able to get back to a Super Bowl.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, I've read a lot of stuff near the end of McCarthy's time in Green Bay, and it seems like everybody just got stale. And so the McCarthy accepting the Cowboy job, Jerry Jones will never find a coach with this kind of pedigree again.
No, and that was the question I was asking you in the break there is like, who's going to fill this spot?
No.
Who is qualified and willing to put up with the crap that Jerry Jones is going to put you through to be the head coach in Dallas? Not to mention all the media and all that kind of stuff you're dealing with out there. You are probably one of the top 5 most well-known figures in the state of Texas as the Cowboy head coach.
Basically, this year with the roster they gave Mike McCarthy, they were asking him to win the Daytona 500 on a Segway.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, go get him. But here's my thought of this, because everybody automatically thinks that this is Jerry Jones pushing Mike McCarthy out. Now, I think if Jerry Jones wanted McCarthy out, they would have denied permission for the Bears to talk to him.
Yep.
I don't think they would have gone in any kind of contract negotiation with him. I have a feeling that this is McCarthy wanting to get the hell out of Dallas. He's going to have a shot in New Orleans or Chicago.
Yep.
He could get one of them. Here's the other thing, too. Last time I checked, he's got a pretty good bank account, is my guess.
Yeah, he's not hurting. That's for sure.
Maybe he thought like this, Tyler. My contract's running out, and I can get the heck out of this crazy house.
You can get out of there. You can go to a Chicago. You can go to New Orleans, where, and again, he apparently was going 12-5 with the Cowboys, but you keep those teams above 500, make the playoffs, and again, the expectation to go to the Super Bowl is not the same as it is in Dallas. You keep the teams with the winning record, make the Super Bowl, and especially if you go to New Orleans, a very winnable NFC South, you'll be fine. You can hang around there as long as you want to. The pressure on you is not nearly as much as it is in Dallas. Not as many eyes on you there either.
You know what else would be great? Coaching a team whose owner doesn't do weekly radio hits.
Yeah,
and press conferences.
That's another one too, where you kind of feel like your second fiddle is the head coach of your organization.
Well, you just know it's dysfunctional. That's why, okay, out of the 32 owners, one does radio shows and press conferences.
Yeah.
After games, it doesn't. The model does not work, right? And the fact that McCarthy won 36 games in 3 years previous to this 7-10 debacle, the biggest thing McCarthy didn't do well in Dallas was win in the playoffs.
Yes.
That was it right there. One playoff win, right, for McCarthy.
That game against Tampa. That was right. Brady's last game.
Yeah, so that's the only time Dallas has won a playoff game under Mike McCarthy. Wasn't like they were tearing it up under Jason Garrett.
No.
Look, they haven't done squat in the postseason since, I can't believe I'm going to say this, since Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith coached the team while Barry Switzer went and drank.
That's the thing is Jerry Jones will never admit the fact that he had an incredible coach in Jimmy Johnson that he drove out the door himself.
Yeah.
He could have stuck around longer. Y'all could have won more Super Bowls and taken that into the 2000s, and he didn't want to do it because there was such a power struggle. Jimmy Johnson said, screw this, I'm gone, and you haven't been the same since.
Only hired Bill Parcells because he had to get the money for his stadium. He didn't want to hire Parcells. But he kissed Bill Parcells' backside. He says, yeah, Bill, I won't meddle. No, Bill, I'm changed. I've learned my lesson. Come on in. And then he goes out and gets Terrell Owens. And Bill Parcells hated that move so much. And you know Parcells wanted nothing to do with it. Bill Parcells never called Owens by name.
Really?
Never called Owens by name.
Say 81?
The player.
The player? Okay.
Yeah. So when people bring up, well, he did hire Bill Parcells. Yeah, that was just to get a stadium. And by the way, Parcells couldn't wait to get out of there. And you're just not going to hire coaches of that ilk because they don't want a meddler. They don't want the owner to be the GM and the head of player personnel and the head of the scouting department.
Let Jerry coach.
Oh, he would if they let him?
Let Jerry coach.
If they'd let him, if the NFL would let him,
give him a headset.
Jerry be a head coach because he's kind of the head coach anyway, right?
Exactly.
So I'm almost thinking, look, this is things just starting. And we'll find out the truth at some point, maybe. But we're fast to think this is Jerry moving away from McCarthy. This might be McCarthy moving away from that dumpster fire in Dallas.
And who could blame him?
I wouldn't blame him at all. And Jerry will go out and get another Muppet, and he can play Jim Henson. And go get a Muppet.
Yeah.
Go get Kermit the Frog.
You get Fozzie Bear.
Fozzie Bear would be great.
And then they'll wonder again why they can't get past the wild card round of the playoffs in a couple of years.
Exactly. The one good thing from what I've heard from people is the Cowboy fans, for the most part, know the problem. It's that for a while they didn't. They were, this coach here, this, that. They've finally gone now. We just have
some point
a crazy egomaniac owner.
You look at the common denominator of the past 30 years, say, different coaches, different quarterbacks, same owner. Weird how that works.
Bizarre. So in case you just haven't even flipped your phone on yet or checked the internet or social media or TV, Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys, seemingly they will be parting ways and moving in separate directions. And I wouldn't be surprised if McCarthy's got a head coaching gig either in New Orleans or Chicago, and Jerry will go get another Muppet.
Or just hire someone from his family.
Why don't you hire your kid?
He's got a grandson that's like 20-something, right?
Yeah, there you go. Well, you hire him, grab him. You can hire that daughter you had all that stuff going on with.
Exactly.
There you go.
Boom.
Halftime show. Firehouse Sub text the hour next. 803-404-6100 on the halftime show here on the game. Here, little David Lee Roth. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare, as we are rolling here till 3 on the game. We've talked the women, an easy W over Texas yesterday. We'll get to the men's game here in just a little bit. I'll tell you what, that was one of those where you legitimately felt bad that the men lost because that was a hell of an effort. That really was.
We try not to be a moral victory, but man, there's a lot of moral victories in that game.
Yeah, a lot of MWs in that one, yes.
Plenty that makes you feel a little bit better about, going forward, going on the road to Vanderbilt, on the road to Oklahoma, because, again, it's a brutal way to start the season, but, man, it looked a whole lot better than those first two games, and we'll get into it, get some of Paris's thoughts on it, but I was expecting another blowout on Saturday, and it didn't happen.
And we'll get into it here. Make sure you're here, Firehouse Subtext, the hour 803-444-6100. It's one game. Moving forward, I want to watch some more on how they run their offense. It seemed like it flowed a bit better Saturday. And look, nobody likes to see guys get hurt. And Jamar Thomas, good defender, hitting like 36% from three, gets to the line a lot. But I don't know if he's the right fit for running a Lamont Paris offense. That was the thought when you brought him in, obviously. You didn't bring a guy in going, I don't think you run the offense. Let's bring him in anyway.
Sure.
Because, again, I think he's taken the second most shots on the team from the point guard position.
Yeah, he's not a pass-first guy like we talked about.
Is his role better playing? I know he's not a big guy. He's like 5'9", but is he better playing off ball? Like, remember when Michi got moved?
Mm-hmm.
Is really Thomas better playing off ball at the 2, even though he's probably 4 inches shorter than Michi? But did the ball move better Saturday because of Jacoby Wright and because of Morris and because they're not looking for their shot per se? They're looking to move the ball and run the offense. And either one of those guys are Talon Cooper, obviously. But
sure.
Did it just flow better because the ball moved a little bit more? I don't know. I don't want to make too much out of one game, but I thought the offense had more of a rhyme or rhythm to it on Saturday.
Yeah, just the overall optics, and going back to the Alabama game where I said the offense just looked clunky and like you just didn't have any rhythm to it. You saw more of that on Saturday, and maybe that is something that you look into and continue with going forward, because again, you're going to be without Jamari Thomas for basically like the next month, and when he does come back, is that a different role? We'll have to see, and certainly see how you fare in these games coming up, that you feel a lot better about your chances in now that you've shown you can go toe-to-toe with what is, I'm assuming, the AP polls coming out here soon, the number one team in the country.
Man, you had him beat. We'll talk more about it top of the 2, but man, it's like Pringle, make 2 free throws.
And
Nick.
I was watching the game with my wife. He gets fouled, goes to the line, chance to go up, and I said, oh no. She said, why oh no? I'm like, he's going to miss both these free throws.
Because again, he's so hit or miss at the line, right? He had a 10 for 10 game from the line.
I know, but overall, 66%?
Think about that for a minute. Yeah. He had a game where he went 10 for 10 from the line, and he's shooting for the year in the mid-60s.
Yeah.
He gets to the line. He gets to the line the second or third most of anybody on the team.
Yeah.
He just can't make the free throws. And the top 3 guys getting the line on this basketball team are Colin Murray-Boyles, Nick Pringle, and Jamari Thomas. All 3 are shooting under 70% from the line. Now, Nick's gotten better. Not Nick. Yeah. Colin's gotten better.
Yeah.
But still, 3 guys are shooting under 70% from the line.
Saturday, you were 9 of 16. 56%. That's not going to get it done.
And you lost the game by
3 points. Yep.
So we'll talk more about it in a little bit, but an excellent effort. Also, in case you missed it, Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys seem like they'll be parting ways. Cowboys will look for a new Muppet to be the head coach, and Mike McCarthy will have some opportunities to possibly coach either Chicago or New Orleans. In the NFL, or if nothing else, go take a TV gig, make 7 figures for just not having to work 20-hour days.
He and Rob Ryan can just spit on each other on ESPN or something like that.
All right, what do you got there on the Firehouse Subtext on 803-444-6100?
Nameless texter says, Ryan Day looks like Bluto from the Popeye cartoons.
Ooh.
I got to say. Let's see.
Okay, we got to bring up a Bluto. You got a Bluto? You got a Bluto?
Yeah. I wouldn't say.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
With the beard.
It's the beard, right?
That's a good text.
I don't think he's as big and strong as him.
No, and did Bluto ever try to beat up Lou Holtz?
No, I don't think so. Okay. I don't think Bluto tried to beat an elderly old man.
Okay. Did Bluto threaten a 80-some-year-old man in any of those Popeye cartoons?
I mentioned, will Ryan Day threaten Lou Holtz at any point in the next 7 days? I'm curious.
Would it be great?
Popeye sound a little like Lou Holtz?
You? Yeah, a little bit. A little high pitch going there. Like Lou. I wonder, this would be a great episode, though. Would have been great because it could have blew on Popeye. I remember Popeye's all skinny, and then Popeye pops the spinach, and then the guns come up, and then all of a sudden Popeye's giving you a whooping.
Sure.
Would be great if Lou Holtz did that and just beat the heck out of Ryan Day.
I would pay for that.
I would, too. Excellent text. That was a good one. 803-404-6100. We do it every hour here on the Halftime Show. Football, and more football, and good mother of football gods. Do we have a lot of football to get to? That's coming up next here on the Halftime Show on The Game. We go football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Halftime show, Terry Ford and Tyler Head and David Dare going till 3 here on the game. A lot of football to get into. Circle back to the Ohio State-Texas game. Kind of feels like a month ago now. On Friday night, a lot has been, look, first of all, here's the thing about Ohio State. They won that game with their biggest weapon gaining 3 yards.
Yeah, they doubled and bracketed, and they took away Jeremiah Smith.
And so what Ohio State did is they threw to their other receivers,
who are also NFL caliber.
Yeah, and those guys made plays. Are they Smith? No, but they made plays. They threw the ball to Travion Henderson, who went 75 yards on the last play of the half, pretty much.
On a nothing play, right?
I mean, that was one of the backbreakers for Texas. You can't give that play up. You just can't. For a running back to take a meaningless screen at the end of the half and go 75 yards, you just can't let that happen to you.
Because that play is designed to squirt up the sidelines, get maybe 15 or 20 yards, taking advantage of your defense playing deep, and then you're saying, okay, well, we'll get another 20 yards, maybe we can get in field goal range.
That's really what you're thinking.
It's not supposed to go all the way and, again, basically negate what you just did in tying the game.
Well, nobody, I think, looks more surprised than Henderson. He's running. He's going, well, no, nobody's tackling me. I guess I'll just keep running.
Are they on the field? What's going on?
He's looking up at the Jumbotron. He's looking behind him. He's like, well, where are the guys in the white jerseys? So that was a backbreaker. The thing about Ohio State that was impressive in this game is they won with a stifling defense.
Yes.
That's how Ohio State won this football game. Offensively, they went through 4 straight possessions in the first half where they punted. They had 3 straight possessions in the second half when they punted. The offense, look, give Texas credit. Texas slowed down that Ohio State offense. But the flip side of it was that Ohio State defense. Texas was 5 of 15 on third down, 4 for 4 on one drive, and the rest of the game, the Longhorns were 1 of 11 on third down.
Yep.
And the other backbreaker play that's getting a ton of criticism, that play isn't two plays preceding it did, but the other backbreaker play was the strip sack, obviously. Mm-hmm. That for some reason, your right tackle pinched in and didn't block Jack Sawyer. Sawyer comes through pretty much untouched and gets Ewers and forces a strip sack where the ball bounces back in Sawyer's hands. Jack Sawyer had a great quote. He was almost blacked out.
Yeah, his body was just doing it for him.
Yeah, that was the thing. And it was just the idea that, the ball bounced right up perfect to Sawyer and he took off and nobody's catching him and he scores. But the second down play, running the sweep. I've heard people say it's the worst play call in the history of I don't know if I'm going that far. But it was interesting because it felt like when Texas did successfully run the ball, and they didn't really run the ball successfully the whole game, it was more quick stuff between the tackles. And I know that Ohio State had the big goal line stand against Penn State earlier in the year, so they've been there, done this. But they stuff the run on first down, right, and get a loss of a yard.
Yep.
And then you run that play wide. And by the way, what a great play by the Ohio State safeties. We're so busy talking about how terrible that play call was, which, again, I thought it was peculiar. And at the end of the day, it was a bad play call. Why, Tyler?
Because it didn't work.
It didn't work.
And you lost 6 yards.
It was, but what the safeties did, when you watch the replay, I think it was Downs. I don't know if it was Downs or the other safety beats a 300-pound offensive lineman, whoops him and breaks through. And the other I think Downs beat the offensive lineman and blew the play up, and then the other safety cleaned it up with the tackle. Mm-hmm. But just that play, what Ohio State did with their safeties defensively on that play was so impressive. And we don't give them enough credit because we're all so busy second-guessing the play call, which I get. The play call was a head-scratcher.
Sure.
I didn't understand because running wide on Ohio State's very difficult.
Yeah, especially in a condensed area of the field like that, where they have the speed to be able to get on the outside. The reward of that play, obviously being a touchdown, and the risk are pretty close to each other on that.
Yeah, I just thought, run the ball again to maybe one of the run plays that has been somewhat successful for you, or run some play action.
And this was a point in the game that was a tackle for loss, and of course they got the strip sack a couple plays later. Ohio State had 7 tackles for losses up to that point. They were already living in your backfield. I wouldn't want to give them free reign to go ahead and get there, again, trying to have to make up an additional 3 to 4 yards that you're already having to get. So again, we're criticizing it because it obviously didn't end up working, but the fact that you were first and goal at the 1 and you couldn't cash in there, that was the difference.
Yeah, and, at the end of the day, look, that Ohio State defense was phenomenal. They just were. The only thing that worked for Texas was getting the ball to the backs in the passing game. That was it.
Yeah.
Nothing else worked. And I know Matthew Golden was hurt, and did that affect the game? Yeah, sure that did. But Texas, besides getting the ball to the backs in the passing game, they had very few answers for the Ohio State defense, which was just phenomenal on a Friday night. And you give them their total props. Yeah, that play, again, going back to that play real quick that Sark called, it almost felt like, okay, are you being cute? Are you trying to go, hey, they won't expect us to do this? Or are you just thinking you're going to win and get that 2 yards by running wide where you really haven't had success running wide? It felt like you had more success inside the tackles, and really it was when your running backs were breaking tackles and getting some yak yards. You had a really tough time running the ball. When I was texting a buddy of mine after they got stopped, and I just said on second down, I go, don't be surprised to go some play action, or do something, something to where maybe you can trick somebody, fool somebody, get a mismatch, get a blown coverage, because right now you just can't run the ball.
Yeah,
I thought they would do something with a little play action at the goal line and maybe try to hit the tight end against a linebacker or something. I didn't think they'd run wide. I didn't. Now, I didn't lose my mind like some other people. Oh my God, that play call is hideous and awful. And
it's just kind of one of those things you look at it sideways, like, I don't know if I would have done that. And again, that ended up setting up what would be the strip sack play later.
So, again, Texas had their chances, and who knows what happens if you tie that game? Who knows? But again, Longhorns fall short, and Ohio State moves on to the championship game against Notre Dame. But again, very good game. We had two good semifinals, man.
And for most of us that probably didn't have any rooting interest going into the semifinals, that's what you want. You want good games. And again, the history of the college football playoff has been riddled with blowouts and games that you could tune out of after halftime because the other team wasn't going to be able to come back. So to have a last-second field goal win Notre Dame over Penn State on Thursday night, and then to have a game that, that was right at the 2-minute timeout that strip sack ended up happening to give you 58 minutes of close competitive football all within one score was certainly what we hoped for, and hopefully have something just as entertaining come Monday for the national championship.
Let's hope so. I'm not feeling that one. I thought it's one of these. Ohio State played so well in the first 2 games. Then they got their scare. Because, again, Texas was going to tie this game late.
Yep.
Ohio State navigated the scare. I think they handled Notre Dame.
I kind of lean that way, too. Again, Notre Dame, when you have a defense that's as physical as they are, you're going to have a chance against everybody. Obviously, we'll see how much they can contain Jeremiah Smith as well as those other Ohio State receivers. It's going to take a lot for Ohio State to win. Again, I just hope that they can make it competitive enough to where we can get 4 entertaining quarters.
Let's hope. That's what I just want a good game.
Yeah.
Give me something that's going to compel me.
Riley Leonard's going to have to throw the ball. I think we can say that pretty confidently. Yes. Riley Leonard, if Notre Dame is going to win on Monday, Riley Leonard's going to have to throw the ball some.
Yeah, because, again, Ohio State, look, Texas slowed them down, and, again, give them a ton of props. They bracketed Smith. They took him out of the game. Ohio State's offense, to their credit, took what they were given, right?
Yep.
It's just going to be interesting because, again, Texas has speed and athleticism. That's an SEC defense brought in from the Big 12. Sark said it. And I'm going to give Sarkisian credit, and I feel maybe I was totally wrong on this. I didn't think Sarkisian was the right guy at Texas. I just didn't.
Okay.
Nothing in his resume told me he was going to go to Texas and be supremely successful. His record as a head coach, Two, he didn't seem like he had that presence and ego you need to navigate the waters of all those very rich sharks that want to be swimming around in your pool in Austin. But look, back-to-back trips to the college football playoff, 2 very successful seasons in a row. I don't know if he's going to have the lasting power of like Mac Brown did or Darryl Royal, but he's done better than I thought he was going to do, Tyler.
I think it helps when you have the amount of resources at your disposal that he has. Again, going back to when he was at Southern Cal, that wasn't the Southern Cal of the Pete Carroll years. They had lost a lot of cachet by the time he got there and was head coach, to where, the Trojan name didn't have the same kind of pull. Texas not only has the brand, they have the NIL funds and all those kind of things to back up what they need. So you can go out there and get a talented roster as good as he has, either via the transfer portal or from high school recruiting. And again, he's a great play caller, aside from calling the toss sweep the other day. And it just kind of seemed like the right combination. Well, we talked about this last year when Texas went to the semifinal, lost to Washington, and obviously made the trip to the SEC. I don't want to say they're back yet. I think it's safe to say this is a team that's going to perennially be in conversation as one of those 5 to 6 teams that can legitimately win the national championship every year.
Now, it feels like it because this wasn't like built through the portal. Like Florida State was built through the portal, and we thought the Seminoles were back after 2 excellent years in a row. And yeah, we got that one. So they won one more game than you and I did. But so at the end of the day, I feel like Sark has done what I didn't think he could do. Now, again, we'll see moving forward, but I'm going to give him his props. I didn't believe that Steve Sarkisian was the right guy, but I wonder how much of this, too. How much did he learn from Nick?
Probably a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The Nick Saban School of Rehabilitated Coaches.
Mm-hmm.
He was a graduate of that. And again, getting a second opportunity to go be a head coach at a program that would eventually join the SEC seems to have him in the right place. Because when you talk about, okay, who are the top dogs going to the SEC next year? It's going to be Texas. It's going to be Georgia. It's going to be Ole Miss. It's probably going to be Alabama once again. And again, right there in the mix, even after only 1 year in the conference.
Yeah. So we'll see. But Texas, I want to give him his credit. Because I sat here for a couple years and Steve Sarkisian, but 2 trips to college football playoffs, got himself in the win column, and then they got to the semis and just fell short against a really good Ohio State crew.
Yep.
All right, football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll hear from Sark. And also, we'll get to the NFL playoffs that have been going on for the last couple days. That is next here on the Halftime Show. David Dare, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, till 3 on the game. All right, halftime show, football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We talked a ton about Ohio State moving on to take on Notre Dame in the College Football Playoff Championship game. Since that was a Friday night tilt, we haven't a chance to yap about it yet. So we got to that. We'll get with you, 803-404-6100, Love Chevy phone line. Let's get to Nick, who's been holding on. Nick, we appreciate your patience. You're on the halftime show in the game. Thanks for calling. What's up?
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Doing great, man. Thanks for asking.
Good, man. I appreciate both your shows. But comment. I'm an Ohio State fan from Ohio. I'll never say anything. I'm a South Carolina fan. I think it's obvious a lot of people don't like Ohio State, and including you guys making comments about Ryan Day, et cetera. And I admit I would have probably hung him by his toes after that Michigan loss. But I think you guys and everybody in the surrounding area would cut off their right toe if they can have a program like Ohio State and a good coach like Ryan Day.
Well, can I ask you this real quick, Nick, though, honestly?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
Let's be fair. Ryan Day didn't build this program.
He did not, but
No.
he's been there how long?
Yeah, but Nick,
No.
and Reddy, you said this before this run. You were ready to hang this guy upside down by his toes, which sounds painful, by the way.
Only because it was Michigan, as I said that.
Exactly. No, I know. I get it. Trust me. I got plenty of friends in Ohio who want to do a lot of worse things than you do to Ryan Day.
Yep.
But the point is, he took a championship caliber program from Urban Meyer and has been very successful. But up until this point, hasn't beaten Michigan, and he hasn't done any damage in the college football playoff.
Beat Michigan once.
So he got Michigan the first year, right?
The first year, yeah.
And then lost since. Has won one college. No, never won. Won college football playoff.
He got to the national
won the
championship in
first
20.
one.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
He won the
hasn't,
first one.
Right. He hasn't had the success that an Urban Meyer has before him, or a Jim Tressel, or all the other coaches who have been very successful at Ohio State. So the point is, the criticism of him as a coach, I think, has been legit. Now, you win a national championship, you get rid of all that criticism. But he didn't build that program. And to be honest with you, there are a lot of programs, I think, that look at Ryan Day and go, is he really a good coach, or is he a product of a great program with great resources? Just to be fair.
We can agree to disagree, and I'm not here to argue, but I just want to make a couple points. Do I think Dabo Swinney's a great coach? No. I think he surrounded himself by great coaches. He's a good manager, CEO, and I think that's what Ryan Day is. When you look on the history of Ohio State, Earl Bruce was not a success. Who was the guy after Earl Bruce? I forget his name. Was not a success.
Was John Cooper after Earl Bruce?
Thank you. Yes. John Cooper. So reality is it is they're a great overall. Not too many colleges can say they have 8 national championships.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many. There's a handful. So my point was, the one thing that I loved about this game was, after the fact, Kirk, I don't know if you guys heard this, Kirk Herbstreit sort of brought in, he's been battered all year by the Team Up North cheerleader that's on that same panel. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
About the NIL money. In reality, Kirk put them in place and saying, hey, they only got 5 guys, right? That $20 million. They brought in Downs, they brought in the quarterback, they brought in a running back, and they brought an offensive lineman that's hurt. In essence, all they did is use that money to bring in a lot of homegrown guys, their whole defensive line, their linebackers. So they didn't go out and replenish this whole team with $20 million. No, they used that money to retain the guys that should have been pro and should have gone pro. And I enjoyed hearing that finally, Kirk standing up to him and saying that. So just wanted to make
now that's good. And Nick, it's true, and I appreciate the call, man, and we appreciate good words about the shows. Yeah, I mean, the Ohio State defense, beside Caleb Downs, we talked about this last week, is a bunch of guys who have been there for multiple years.
Yeah, and now you had to use that NIL money to make sure they didn't go anywhere or else make it worth their while.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he is right. They only brought in a handful of guys via the transfer portal. And we've seen in college football up to this point, in the couple of years we've had NIL and the portal go hand in hand, you can't get to the top by just being in the portal alone, and you can't get at the top by just being in high school recruiting alone, as we've seen with Clemson falling off. You got to hit that balance, which I think Ohio State's done a very good job of. And look, he's right. I mean, there's 95% of programs around the country that would kill to be in the position that Ohio State's in right now with the history of success they've had up to this point. But like you said, Ryan Day still has to prove himself by getting over that hump and finally winning the national championship, because that's what the caliber of this program is. That's what Urban Meyer did, Jim Tressel did, all those coaches before them. And up to this point, and again, he's got an opportunity to do that in 7 days from now. He's come up short in that regard. And with a roster this talented, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to win next week.
You know, it's funny, and just to Nick's point, this is what the level Ohio State's at. Nick goes, Earl Bruce, he wasn't any good. He averaged 10 wins a year.
Yeah.
Up until his last season.
How many times did he lose Michigan?
But he never won a
that's the
national
question.
championship. Yeah, exactly.
That's the question.
Never won a national championship. And let me look. I just got Earl Bruce's record up here in front of me just for fun. Only finished in the top 10 at the end of the season 3 times.
That's it.
And only finished in the top 5 once. And never finished in the top 3.
Yep.
So to an Ohio State fan who is used to competing for championships, Earl Bruce,
Yeah.
even though he averaged 10 wins a year.
You take that guy to Illinois and they're building a statue for him.
Exactly. John Cooper got to a point where John Cooper's tenure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight years, Cooper, 6 of those 7 years, Cooper won 10 games or more and averaged over 10 wins a year in a 7-year span. But he couldn't beat Michigan and he couldn't, win bowl games.
Yep.
Don't care how many wins you're averaging a year, bub. You can't beat the Wolverines, and you're not competing for a national championship.
Yeah.
See ya.
Well, and look, even if Ryan Day and Ohio State win the national championship next week, the big question going into next year is, can they finally beat Michigan again?
Yes.
Like, congratulations on the championship. Can you finally beat your rival that you were clearly a more talented team than?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. I mean, and look, Nick even said it. When they lost to Michigan again, because now it's 4 in a row,
Yeah.
wanted to hang Ryan Day upside down by his toes.
Sure.
And that's the thing. So Ryan Day, for all the wins, hasn't won the games that matter. In the college football playoff environment, go win a championship. Oh, yeah, and by the way, what's even more important to a lot of us, beat Michigan.
Yep.
And that's the thing. There will be people, if they win this championship, there are people who are Ohio State fans who are going to go like this. Yeah, that's nice, but didn't beat that team up north.
They won't buy the schedule T-shirt because it's going to have that one loss on there.
Or what's going to drive them crazy is if Ohio State hoists that trophy, the Michigan fans are going to say, yeah, but you didn't beat us.
Because they have the bragging rights for 365 days. And it doesn't matter what they did. If they went 1-11 and that one wins against Ohio State, that's enough for them.
But that's just the level of what that program is. Okay, yeah, it was Luke Fickell that year in 2011 when Tressel had to step away because of Tatgate.
Which, how insane is that looking back on now?
So stupid now, doesn't it? But okay, so take that away. You know the last time Ohio State had a losing season?
Probably not in my lifetime.
No, yeah, it's not. John Cooper's first year at 4-6.
What year was that?
In 1988.
Wow.
Then you want to go back even farther to the other losing season? 1956, sir.
Wow.
So since 1950, Ohio State's had 3 losing seasons.
Yeah.
Almost 75 years of college football, 3 losing seasons.
Yeah. They are among the standards of college football. Like you said, they're averaging about a national championship every 10 years right now, and they're in line to do that again next week against a Notre Dame team that, on paper, they are more talented than, and I don't think should have a problem with. And then, we'll see what the conversation about Day is coming away from that, and they can finally get over the hump of beating Michigan for the first time in now 6 years at the end of the year, then we'll be telling a different story.
But yeah, just it is Ohio State and Oklahoma. If you look over the last 70 to 75 years of those programs, except Brent Venables, who is setting records for losing seasons, but you look at how few losing seasons either one of these 3 losing seasons since 1950.
Yeah.
That's vile. Yeah. That is vile. All right. Football, the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. NFL playoffs. And we had one good game so far. And a lot of blowouts and snoozers. And we got one more tonight.
Yep.
We'll get to that next. Also, we'll talk to you at 803-404-6100 as well on the halftime show. Terry Ford, David Ayer, Tyler Head. We go to 3 on the game. We're yapping football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. Tyler Heads here, David Ayer, Terry Ford as we roll until 3. And, okay, so the NFL. You know, it's really funny. There have been a lot of people who dog the early rounds of the college football playoff, blowout, whatever. But very few people dog the NFL playoffs if we get a bunch of crappy games.
Well, we usually don't. We usually get, I mean, the NFL in itself, you tune in on a given Sunday, you're going to find just about every game settled anywhere between 3 and 8 points usually.
This thing has not been that way, except last night. Easily the most entertaining game of the bunch.
Finally, after all weekend of meh.
Yeah, and I mean, it was back and forth. Washington and Jaden Daniels, Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. And the game is tied. Let's get cut 21, Dave, real quick. Get cut 21. So Washington moves the ball down the field, get into field goal range. Kicker's got to redo his shoe and sock on the sideline. By the way, Washington's gone through like 70 kickers this year.
Yeah, no, Dan Quinn didn't know the guy's name. Hey, you, get out there.
It's just like...
What's your name again?
Look, they're a special teams coach. Who's the kicker?
Do we have a kicker?
Just send him out there. Let Daniels do it. So then, you're Washington, you line up for the game-winning kick, and this happens.
From 37 to send Washington to the Final 8. Commanders off the upright, and it is in! They doink their way to the divisional round! Unbelievable!
Zane Gonzalez nails all 3 of his field goal attempts, and that was a doinker. Was it 37 yards?
Yeah. By the way, have they changed what uprights are made of? We used to get more of a ping. Now it's just a thud.
Yeah. And it's a nasty sound, too.
It is.
Unless it goes in for your team. But usually when you hear that sound, it means the kick's no good. But that thing hit the inside of the crossbar and shot right in.
Yep.
You know what that was like? It's almost the football gods are saying, look, we've taken a dump on you, Washington, for years and years and years. And really we did it because we didn't like your owner because he's a bad human being.
Yep.
But now, you know what? You got a new owner. You got a new outlook. We like your quarterback. This is going to be good.
And that was the story of the game last night is the Commanders couldn't run the ball at all. I mean, the Tampa Bay run defense was stifling them at every turn. It took Jaden Daniels putting the team on his back and throwing them to that victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Daniels was really good. A 110 quarterback rating, was 24-35, almost 270 yards, a couple scores. And he didn't make the big mistake.
No.
That was the other thing. You know, rookies typically struggle and their teams lose in the playoffs. Like you saw what happened to Bo Nix. They just got run over by Bo Nix didn't play defense, but, you know, the Bills just ran over Denver. And you know, Nix had some good moments and bad moments. Typically, rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs, they play like rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs. Now, Jaden Daniels last night.
Nope.
He was phenomenal. And one of the plays that is not going to be talked about enough was that run on third down.
Oh, huge.
To get the first down late in the game.
Yep. To eventually set them up for the field goal.
I mean, Tampa Bay won at the line of scrimmage. It's just Daniels, they couldn't get him.
Mm-hmm. They got his towel.
Yeah, exactly. They took off.
If we were playing flag football, he would have been down.
Good. But that play to get that first down was gigantic. He made some excellent throws. And you're right, they had no run game, averaged about 2 yards a carry. It was basically, okay, Jaden Daniels is going to have to throw us to a victory here. Washington's defense did enough. They got the big turnover. Look, Baker Mayfield, again, I don't know why I'm in such a wonderful mood today. I give props to Baker Mayfield for the quarterback he has become, that I didn't think he would ever even get to this point after what we saw him bottom out in Cleveland. But last night, again, you're running that reverse with McMillan, and for whatever reason, Mayfield's late with the turn. The ball ends up on the ground. Why? And that's right after stopping Washington on fourth down on fourth and goal.
For like the 8th time that they went for it. And that was about 11 minutes to go. If Tampa Bay puts together a long drive and scores a touchdown, Washington's probably got too big of a deficit to overcome at that point in time. And you probably seal the game. But you hand them the ball right back. They immediately get the touchdown. And give Tampa Bay credit. They did go down the field and score a field goal themselves. But with the way that Washington was moving the ball, you kind of felt like when you gave it back to them that last time, you may not see the ball again. Your defense wasn't able to do enough to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, that was such a huge momentum turn in the game because I thought once Washington got stopped, there was still like 11 minutes left. But, as I'm watching that, and I understand today that everything is flipped upside down by going forward on fourth down with the analytics. And
even I thought they were too aggressive. And I get it, the kicking situation, but still some of those were man, you could probably get an easy 3 here.
I'm not going to lie. The one they got stopped on before Tampa Bay got the ball back and fumbled, it's 17-13. There's 11 minutes left in the game. It's 4th and 5.
Yep.
Or 4th and 4. I'm take the points there. You're now down by 1. Now you put yourself in a position to, if you can later in the game, kicking a field goal could win the game for you. Instead of having to go for 7, take the field goal here. That was me. Take the field goal here. Now, the next time they were down there, it's later in the game.
Sure.
And I'm okay. You're what are they, the 3-4 yard line again or wherever it was. But now you're starting to lose. Time is not your friend anymore. So I kind of get that one more. But that one with 11 minutes to go, I'm take the field goal, man.
Yeah, because again, when you hand the ball back to Tampa, you're giving them the opportunity to go up by 2 scores in this game, especially if they're going on a long drive. You wouldn't have had hardly any time to do anything with that. So, yeah, a little too aggressive, which, by the way, if you will going forward on 4th down, Commanders-Lions this weekend.
Oh.
4th downs galore.
Leave the punters at home, baby.
Yeah, don't even get off the bus.
Here we go. And look, do I as a fan, do I love watching all this aggressiveness on 4th down? Because, it's fun, right?
Sure.
Because really, if you get stopped, that's a turnover.
Yeah,
Let's just be real.
Yeah.
They're never going to count as a turnover, but it is a turnover because the other team gets pumped. You can lose your momentum.
You get nothing out of it.
You get 0. And it worked. Look, it worked out because Washington got the fumble, got the ball back. But as much as I like aggressiveness from the fan perspective of watching it, 5 years ago, I'd be more aggressive than most coaches. Now, there's sometimes I go, man, I'm kicking the field goal here. I mean, I did it last night. Dan Campbell sometimes. It's bro, just take the field goal. The game's over.
Yeah.
And he'll go for it on 4th down. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I get the feeling, and look, I love to see, if my Ravens can't win the Super Bowl, I'd love to see the Lions win the Super Bowl. That city has gone through so much pain and suffering for a lot of things.
Yep.
I would love to see the Lions. And I'm a huge Dan Campbell fan. I like Dan Campbell. But I'm going to tell you, just like last year in the NFC Championship game, the over-aggressiveness. And I get you. This is how we play. This is who we are. I get it all. But at some point, you know as good as I do what's going to happen.
There's a difference between going forward on 4th down in Week 11 against the Bears in a game that you can afford to lose and doing it in a conference championship game or this weekend in a divisional game where the consequences are a little bit more dire. So I agree with you. That's because I'm rooting for the Lions. I don't have any rooting interest in the playoffs. Other than that, I'm afraid that his aggressiveness is going to come back to bite them this time around too.
Look, and I think you explained it perfect. Going forward on your own 35-yard line on 4th and 4 in November with a 2-score lead, against the Seattle Seahawks is different than having a 2-score lead in the NFC Championship game at your own 37-yard line on 4th and 2.
Yep.
Punt that baby. I won't lie to you. Watching the Ravens on Saturday, there were, when they're controlling that game and they had a couple of 4th and shorts, I'm punt it, man. Steelers aren't moving the ball. They can't get a first down. Play field position.
Your defense is holding them in check outside of those 2 big touchdowns. I mean, the Steelers did all of nothing on offense.
It's Harbs, play field position and let your defense eat. Don't get goofy because Harbaugh loves going for it on 4th down too.
Yeah.
Now, they did go for it on 4th down. I forget at what point in the game in their own territory and made it. But, the way that game was flowing, you had firm control. What's the one way to lose control?
Hand it back to him.
Go for it on 4th and 2 from your own 39. Get stopped. They get a short field score touchdown. Guess where Uncle Mo's going?
Yeah, the other way.
Yeah. So
well, the analytics tell you to always go for it.
We got that analytic chart last year. Your own 1-yard line.
Go.
Doesn't matter.
Wait, it's 4th and 10. I don't care. Go.
Go for it. The analytics say go, baby. But anyway, so that was good last night with the Commanders and the Bucs. Far and away the best game. All right, David Dare, let's fire this up. Cut 20. Derrick Henry, Minka Fitzpatrick is still trying to dig his head out of the ground after Derrick Henry gave him the old, gave him the stiff arm. But Dallas Goedert, that might have been even better what the Philadelphia Eagle tight end did. Here's the highlight. Hit it, Dave. Cut 20.
Throw in here. Quick throw near side. Good adjustment and a catch by Goddard, who runs over his man, still at his feet, and he scores! What a play by Dallas Goddard. Ran right through Valentine for the touchdown.
They got a picture of it front and center.
God love Carlton Valentine. He goes to hit Goddard. Goddard gives him the stiff arm, and then Goddard just keeps stiff arming him. Goddard just doesn't give him one. He gave him the business, like 2 or 3 times going down the field, man.
It's like repeatedly ramming someone's head into a locker in high school. That's essentially what Dallas Goedert did. And again, that was the difference in the game.
And, look, Philly couldn't throw it really well. I don't know how much Jalen Hurts is still not right. The passing game wasn't clicking. Saquon Barkley was Saquon Barkley, but
he didn't even cross 100 yards till the very end of the game.
The Philly defense was what won this game for the Eagles.
I don't know how healthy Jordan Love really was in that game.
Yeah,
Threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah, and Jordan Love is a weird cat. The first 8 games this year, he threw an interception in every game. Then he went 7 games without throwing an interception, and then in this playoff game, threw 3.
Yep.
And again, you're right. How healthy was he? All right, Firehouse Up text the hour 803-404-6100. It's football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the game. All right, time to grab our Firehouse Sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you get there, Taylorhead?
Let's see here. Curtis says, and how much NIL was spent on Ohio State's roster again? What the rumored number is?
20, wasn't
20,
it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somewhere in that department.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of that was player retention, but you did bring in some hired guns and Judkins and Will Howard and Caleb Downs and stuff like that. But and look, it's wide open right now. Now we expect revenue sharing to come in next year. It's going to allow everybody to spend up to that point. But hey, credit to Ohio State for
They spent it.
getting what they could get. And again, they're in a position where they expected to be when the season started of playing for the national championship.
Curtis, you're right. I mean, they spent the money. And, and part of this is they've got the money to spend. They compete year in and year out on the big stage. And they send guys to the NFL. And college football players want to, today, get their NIL, play for a program that can win big, and play for a program that can get them to the NFL.
Ohio State checks all three of those boxes.
Checks every box.
What's really funny to me is regardless of who wins the national championship this year, we're going to be able to look at a very glaring anomaly on their schedule. If we're either going to say, how did Notre Dame, the national champion, lose to Northern Illinois, or how did this Ohio State team lose to Michigan?
Oh, absolutely. They both have a big, gigantic, ugly wart that they can't get rid of.
Yep.
But that's the new world of the college football playoff because, if you go to the 4 team,
That wouldn't be.
they're not in.
They're not in.
Neither one.
I would say, given Notre Dame's loss, Penn State probably gets in over them.
Yeah. It would be, let's see, your 4 would be Penn State, Georgia, Oregon,
And Texas.
And Texas.
2 SEC, 2 Big Ten.
just like it's meant to be, right?
Yeah. And then what are we looking at? Maybe a Georgia Oregon national championship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about the 2 teams playing for this would not have been in a 4-team playoff.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
And again, you have to earn your right to be here. And Ohio State more than earned it against Ohio State. Obviously earned it the other day against Texas. Obviously did what they needed to do in round 1 against Tennessee. They took down 3 very good teams to get here.
I mean, if you want to put the Ohio State pushback is going to be look who we beat.
Yes.
Look who we beat. And then you take out Notre Dame, and that'll be another top 5 team. And it'll be like, and nobody, I think of, and again, it's an expanded playoff, but if Ohio State beats Notre Dame, no one would have beat more top 5 teams in one season.
Yeah, because they had the record tied right now for 4. So yeah, that would be the all-time record. And look, unlike with the BCS, unlike even with the 4-team playoff, you can't really backdoor your way into the championship game anymore. If you make the championship game, you have accomplished something. I know people are critical of Notre Dame's schedule, but they beat a very good Georgia team.
Yes.
They beat a very capable Penn State team. Like, they earned their shot at being here, whether you like them or not.
Right. And that's the thing, because we, not everyone, but most of us don't like any 4 of the Final 4.
Of course.
For the reasons they're big brands, they got all these advantages, resources, blah, blah, blah. But, if you're going to be objective about it, those 2 teams earned it with who they beat.
Yep.
They absolutely did. And that just shows you the idea of what makes this play. To me, again, look, I know everybody's got their own opinion and their thought. For me, what makes this really cool is the idea that you got these 2 teams that wouldn't have been in a 4-team playoff, and what'd they do? They won their way into the championship game. So I'm a huge fan of the expanded playoff. I just think, look, to me, it didn't hurt the regular season at all. By the way, the regular season still meant a ton.
Yeah, could there be some tweaks done to it? Yes, and I think there
The
will
seating,
be.
we all agree the
likely in the
seating's got to get
offseason,
fixed.
and we're probably going to expand to 14 or 16 in a couple years.
It
but
needs to go to 16.
Look, I'm not going to complain about more football. And when you can give me football that is competitive and fun, like both those semifinals were, I'm never going to complain about it. Like, the first round games sucked, right? Because all those games were pretty handily won by the whole team, and then the second round games outside of the Peach Bowl all were kind of meh too for the most part. At least in this round, we got good games, and again, I don't care who wins either way. I hope we get a fun national championship.
Yeah, but the flip side is the NFL playoffs this weekend. The one thing that surprised me the most was what the Texans did to the Chargers.
Good Lord.
If Houston won that game, I wouldn't have been surprised, but the beatdown the Texans gave the Chargers was wow.
I mean, Justin Herbert had a very solid season. 3 interceptions coming in, threw 4 on Saturday.
Now, a couple of them were off the hands of receivers, and the Chargers have to get receivers. I mean, even your boy Lab McConkey, who had a nice year, still had a ton of drops.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to get receivers. That's one thing moving forward. You want to improve your team, Jim Harbaugh. Go get some guys that can get open and catch the ball when you throw it to them.
That'll be priority number 1 in the draft, I'm assuming.
I think it will be too. But, I mean, I did not see the Texans punishing the Chargers the way they did.
No.
It was unreal. So that was really that was the biggest surprise to me we've seen so far. Now we got Rams-Vikings tonight.
Yeah.
We'll get into that here next hour. But that was one of the surprises. Was I surprised that my Ravens cuffed the Steelers around the way they did? They dominated. I didn't think they would. They dominated, but the Texans were far and away the biggest surprise to me. All right, that's football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors, which is trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, and Gamecock Traditions is next on the game. All right, if you are thinking about doing some things to the home to upgrade the appliances, make them more user-friendly, or get them more fancy, newer ones with more bells and whistles, maybe, I think they have refrigerators that talk to you today. I don't know. Maybe refrigerators that'll, I don't know, make food for you. I got no clue, but if they are around, they'll have them at the Nest. That's for sure. 1331 Gadsden in the Vista. Just call 803-978-2025. If you want to do some stuff to the bathroom, the kitchen, maybe you want new lighting, new fixtures, new plumbing, whatever department you're looking at improving in your home, call the Nest first. Again, 803-978-2025. Get on the phone, call. They'll put you in touch with an expert in the area you're looking to improve. They'll bring you in, do an appointment. They will get everything done for you in your vision, your budget, walk you around the great showroom, and you will leave a happy camper. Trust me. Again, it is the Nest, 1331 Gadsden, the Vista, 803-978-2025. Give them a ring. All righty, what's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. David Ayer running the show. Tyler Head's here. Terry Ford also hanging out with you as we roll up until 3 o'clock. All right, Dave, we're going to get some stuff here from women's and men's basketball. Look, heck of an effort. And there are no moral victories. I get it. And there's not. There are no moral victories. But after losing as badly as South Carolina's men did the first 2 games of the SEC slate, to be able to go out and play the way they did against Auburn, look, it's a loss. It is. But it makes you think, wow, maybe this team can be competitive in the SEC. Maybe they can find a way to scrape together enough wins to, get to close to 500, maybe. I don't know. Or at least be, not the basement doormat that some people thought they could end up being after the first 2 games against Alabama and Mississippi State. Colin Murray-Boyles, 25.7 boards. He attacked. Got to the line 7 times. 10 of 18 from the floor. And what Colin Murray-Boyles did, just in my opinion, was different, was he dictated. He was the aggressor. And he was doing things that are more to his advantage. And to be fair, Auburn doesn't, have the wave of athletic bigs that maybe in Alabama or Mississippi State do. But Auburn still has some guys defensively in the interior, who can guard you. But Colin Murray-Boyles was doing the things he did best. Colin Murray-Boyles is really good face-up, 2, 3, 4 dribbles, go to the basket, and create. Much better doing those things. Quicker moves when he was in the post, not holding the ball. Colin Murray-Boyles dictated to Auburn's bigs, and you saw how it turned out, a fantastic performance from him.
Yeah, and again, as we've talked about, particularly the last 2 games, where only had the combined 11 points between Mississippi State and Alabama, this team's going to go the way that CMB goes. If your best player is not scoring, in the double figures, you're likely not going to win that game. And Colin Murray-Boyles went out there, had his best performance in SEC play so far, played with aggressiveness, played with intensity, and again, went out there and got his points, and you hope that's the catalyst for what's to come. And again, it's not like he's foreign to this. He went through the entire SEC slate a year ago, but now he's being more focused on and centered in on because he is truly the best player on this team. And again, it took him a couple games to kind of get up to task, but you hope that continues on as you take on Vanderbilt and Oklahoma this week and can hopefully lead to some wins here soon.
Nick Pringle had a double-double, 12 and 10. Much more active, 5-11 from the floor, but missed the 2 free throws. Again, 2 of 5 from the line. And look, I love the fact Nick gets to the line.
It's those dang free throws when he gets there.
Got to make them.
And look, he owned up to it. He's not shy about it. He's a veteran guy, and he's not trying to pass the blame. That's something he needs to improve on. That's something this entire team needs to improve on. You and I were looking at the numbers a little bit earlier on this morning, and when you get in tight games like this, it's going to come back to bite you when you're missing half the free throws that you go to the line for. And again, 2 of those would have been huge on Saturday to have put you ahead 65, 63 or 65-64 at that point in time, and instead you come up short.
9 of 16 from the line. He's got to. You go 12 of 16 from the line, you win the basketball.
Different story.
And Pringle 2 of 5. Then you had Arden Conyers, a young fella who had some really nice moments on Saturday. Still, he went 2 or 4 from the line.
Yeah, and look, Arden Conyers, we've heard a lot about him and what his potential is. Obviously, redshirted a season ago, and this kind of seemed like his coming out party, where, again, you're down 2 of your starters, particularly Miles Studio, where you don't have that same efficiency from the outside. Is Conyers that guy now? We'll see. It was certainly a good display on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, he popped up, hit 3 of 6 from 3, scored 13. And, if you can get something off the bench from an Arden Conyers, that'd be nice. Even my boy Benjamin got in there and battled.
Well, he had to put down his law book.
Yeah.
You want me to go grab some boards? Okay, I'll get back to studying in a moment.
I mean, he had 5 boards, 3 assists. He was active.
That's an example of a player that knows what he's good at. He's got the size. He can grab boards. Don't ask him to shoot anything. Just ask him to grab rebounds, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, he was. And again, he got a couple fouls because he also has 5 fouls to give.
He does.
But my man Benjamin was giving effort.
I also love the mask, by the way.
I do too. Gives him a little intimidation, a little look of intimidation. So, yeah, and especially the fact that Jordan Butler, he played 1 minute. Butler came in and just, I'm trying to be kind here, did not seem engaged, and Lamont wasn't messing around.
Yeah.
1 minute and out.
He didn't seem to match the physicality that the rest of the team was playing
Or the
with.
intensity
Or the
of the
intensity.
moment, yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, we're cooking here. Nice try, but maybe next time.
Now, he's a young fella. It feels like he just wants to shoot threes and block shots. Now, again, he's a young guy. Hopefully, with time and maturity, he understands there's more to the game than just chucking threes and blocking a shot.
That is an Alabama type of mindset that South Carolina does not play at.
So, Jordan Butler got 1 minute and got taken out. But like we talked about this, maybe just maybe the way you play and like to play, if you're Lamont Paris, maybe having a Jacoby Wright or a Morris Ugasuk running the point who are looking to move the ball quicker than Jamari Thomas might be something that can help your offense. And then Thomas comes back, and maybe you look at him in a different role.
And I can understand because, of course, Thomas was the player of the year in the MEAC and was obviously a good point guard for that Norfolk State team. So when he comes in, I can understand that being where you want to put him. But sometimes you stumble across these things accidentally when somebody's out, like, Thomas is going to be for essentially the next month. Say, okay, well, it flows better when we have this guy running the point. And again, Thomas, effective, being able to shoot the ball, like you said, finding a different spot for him that can coincide with what somebody else running the point on offense can be. Maybe you have a better version of your team overall when he comes back.
And look, Jacoby Wright didn't score. He went 0 for 5 from the floor, but did have 4 assists in the game, did have 3 turnovers, but 4 assists. The ball seemed to move better. Look, South Carolina still shot like 41% from the floor, only 25, 26% from 3. So it's not like they tore it up offensively. You look at stats, but if you watch the game, it felt like there was a better flow to the offense and getting the ball to move better. And there wasn't a lot of, like you brought up, clunkiness that we've seen in the first 2 SEC games.
Yeah, and look, you're going to have turnovers. There didn't seem to be as high of a degree of turnovers as you've had in a couple of games past where it's just one after the other. So, again, it flowed a little bit better. And I give credit to, and this is on the defensive side of the ball, making Auburn play your game. Because, again, when you look at what happened against Mississippi State and Alabama, they ran away from you. You're not able to drag them into the rock fight that you want to drag these teams into. Remember last year, South Carolina, I think, was the best in the SEC at holding opponents under 70 points. With all the high-scoring offenses they went up against, that's an accomplishment. That Auburn team was scoring in the 80s and 90s and all that kind of stuff, and you made them score 66 points. You made them play your game. You came up a little bit short, but you proved that you can do that against a high-level team like Auburn.
And so you walk away with that knowing this is how, when we play our way and our style, and hopefully we make some more shots in the next game, which will be Vanderbilt, hopefully you can walk off the court with a W.
And people point fingers saying, okay, well, Janai Broome didn't play the entire game. You held him in check until he went out the ankle injury. He played, roughly a half in, 5 minutes or whatever before he got injured. But up to that point, he was relatively ineffective compared to what he'd done in other games.
Janai Broome was 3 of 11 from the floor when he got hurt.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like Janai Broome was tearing it up. No, he was struggling.
We were talking about this earlier. Did you ever see Bruce Pearl actually go over there and check on him, by the way? Because he's down on the other end of the court.
Yeah.
They extended timeout because, again, it was a pretty nasty ankle roll that you said made your ankle hurt. And, I never saw Bruce Pearl. That's your best player. That's one of the best players in the country.
Don't you come running over and cuddle with him?
Never, not a tap on the head, not a, hey, what's going on? He just kind of stayed in the bench area, which I thought was kind of weird.
It is interesting. Yeah, you figure you run over and just, Janai, you doing okay?
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
How's my superstar doing?
You need my ankle? We can do something right now.
Anybody in the arena got an ankle?
That's right. We need to give our boy Janai an ankle. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but come running through my head now.
It was odd,
It
right?
was very odd.
And, I'm not excusing it, but if it's a bench player that isn't giving you many minutes, okay, I'm not excusing it, but I get it. But again, this is the guy that stirs the drink for your team.
Yeah.
This guy is, going to win multiple awards, assuming he comes back healthy as the season rolls along. That was just weird.
It was. That was, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that was weird. Pettiford, the freshman, was really good in this game, by the way.
Yep.
15 points, had a couple of really nice dimes for buckets, hit a couple of big threes, 5 or 6 from the line. Pettiford kind of saved Auburn, to be quite honest with you, because Tigers were in trouble. They absolutely were. Lamont Paris, real quick, Dave. Let's grab a cut here from the head coach. Let's go with cut 4. as Lamont talks about the positives you can take away from an excellent effort against Auburn at home.
All right. Well, thought our guys, this is not just my assessment. I think about watch the game, could tell that our guys played really hard and with a good level of physicality, of aggression, of energy, of spirit and emotion. And so I think some of the basketball things that happened for us that were positive, whether on the offensive side or the defensive side, I think we're a byproduct of those factors. So really happy with what the game looked like, what the body of work ultimately looked like. Just wish that you could make a play here or there on either side of it that ultimately affects the outcome of the game. But they have a good team. The number next to their name would say that, but my eyeballs tell me the same. And so, loaded with a lot of talented players. Hopefully, Janai Broom it's nothing too serious. I think it looked like his ankle, but hopefully it's something where he'll be back sooner rather than later. But I thought our guys fought hard and played well and managed the game effectively for a large part of the game.
Oh, yeah, again, great effort. Just a couple of plays you make down the stretch, you might be able to steal this one.
Yeah, again, we're not trying to be moral victory here, but when you had the kind of losses you had against Mississippi State and Alabama, that can bring you down because you got bludgeoned by both those teams. And again, you're still 0-3 in conference play, which we can't ignore. But the fact that you took a team that good to the limit, I think instills a lot of confidence in these guys going into Wednesday and going into Saturday against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. Like, hey, we can do this. Hey, we are good enough to play with the best of the best in this league. Let's see how it translates into what are easier, quote-unquote, games than what you've had.
Yeah, another effort stat, out-rebounding Auburn 37-33, especially the offensive glass, 15 offensive rebounds to Auburn's 11. Auburn's a good offensive rebounding team. So, again, all you can do is you take this and you go, all right, the effort, a lot of things were good here. You just got to be able to finish the game by making plays.
Yes.
Very simple. All right, real quick, 803-404-6100. Ray's been holding on. Ray, we appreciate you hanging in there, man. You're on the halftime show in the game. How you doing, pal?
Hey, Terry, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey, when you were talking about that sports center guy from South Carolina, Benjamin, I know he's a law student. He's even got the name of a law firm. Well, anyway, when you were talking about he played within himself, and he really did because he's really not a scorer. But he's got a good passing skills for a big man, got you a few rebounds, played some defense. We all remember the Dirty Harry movie where, for Callahan, he's talking to his chief, and it's played by that guy, Hal Holbrook, I believe.
Uh-huh.
He said, Chief, a man has got to realize his limitations. and I think that dude gets him, man. I got to give Benjamin credit there. But going on to movies still, talking about Bruce Pearl. Bruce was actually on that team. He wasn't convicted of anything, so I'm not throwing that out there. But he was part of that BC team that was in the point shaving. The whole Henry Hill thing, wise guys. Well, how that all unfolded, the FBI field agent in Boston, he'd got word that he thought that Boston College was fixing their basketball games, that there was point shaving going on. Well, somehow he interviewed Henry. Now, Henry being this, the gangster he is, he didn't think shaving basketball games that was illegal. And he said, I don't know, I was in Boston at the time, and it's when I was fixing those basketball games. And the guy's like, what do you mean you're fixing basketball games? Hey, it was Boston University or something like that. And he's thinking, well, nobody cared about Boston University. And it came out as Boston College. And that's how that all unfolded. But anyway, I just kind of want to throw that out.
Well, that was good. You know what? We appreciate it, like always, Ray. Good hearing from you. I mean, the stuff Henry Hill did, fixing basketball games means nothing.
That's minor on the list of illegal things.
Right, I'm going to try this. So, you've been in an accident called Benjamin Bozeman's Verdonk. I think Ray's onto something there.
BBV.
All right. What's trending at 2? Sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. We'll talk about the women. That's coming up next here on the Halftime Show in the Game. We roll around, yap about what's trending at 2. Tyler Head, David Ayer, Terry Ford, halftime show. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We've been focusing on the men and women's basketball games from the weekend. I want to get one more from the men's side. And this is Nick Pringle. Now, Nick, again, going to the line with a chance to put South Carolina up late in the game. And if Pringle makes the 2 free throws, look, there's no guarantee you win at that point. No, but now you have the lead.
You have the lead, and it's only a handful of seconds left for Auburn to go down and try and take it themselves.
So Nick Pringle goes to the line, misses both free throws, unfortunately. And I always, look, I say this all the time. How you measure people to me is how you measure someone, how they react when things don't go their way. Mm-hmm. Everybody's a hero when you're successful.
Of course.
Nobody ever hits a game-winning shot and doesn't talk to the media.
Of course.
Matter of fact, some guys will chase the TV truck down the road. You want to talk to me some more? Knock on their door.
Yep.
Hey, TV anchor. But what do you do when things don't go your way? Nick Pringle, to his credit, he talked post-game with the media about missing those 2 free throws. Cut 11, Dave.
I don't want to say so. I mean, I put in my work every day, literally, since I've been improving on my free throw shooting. And it definitely hurts, I mean, especially, you get your team going, me and Colin, setting the tone and everybody follow through, and it comes down to something, Coach preaches about all the time, just being ready for situations. And, I definitely got to, take a lot of accountability, at least one of them, has to go. I can't miss, both, but yeah, it was a tough environment for sure. I mean, I feel like Auburn brought a lot of fans out. I mean, definitely want our fans to, stick with us, it's a stepping stone, I feel really good about this game. I mean, even though the outcome, I mean, you can see, what the potential of this team can be, and we just want to keep building, and we want our fans to stick with us. I mean, I don't want to hear Auburn fans in our sections. So if we want to keep going forward, and I'm just going to try to take a positive vibe off of this game.
Couple things. First of all, whenever someone struggles at the free throw line, it's always they got practice. They do.
As if the light bulb goes off on what? I never thought about that. We got to start doing free throws in practice. I assure you, they are probably doing that more than anything else in practice right now.
Lamont wasn't sitting on the bench after Pringle missed the free throws. You know what we got to do? We got to start shooting those in practice.
Hey, Carrie, write this down. Practice on Monday, free throws.
And, it's just... Look, yeah, it is. It's like, it's frustrating. I don't care if you're watching someone miss them or you miss them yourself. Because, again, no one's guarding you. In theory...
It is the easiest points. There's a reason they're called free throws. Because you're not being contested. All you got to do is put the ball in the basket.
And the sad thing is, you can sit in practice and you can be money with them. But there's nobody around. There's no score. There's no situation. There's nothing. It's you in an empty gym or you at practice or whatever the case. And yeah, they do these drills where if you don't make like 90 out of 100, the whole team's got to run. Everybody wants to punch you in the head or whatever. But nothing you can replicate in practice comes down to down by 1, I'm at the line shooting 2.
Everything in basketball is a skill, and free throw is no different. Some guys are better at it than others. Some guys need to refine their mechanics to be better at it. Nick Pringle, again, has gotten better at it, but still is not great. This whole team is not great overall at shooting free throws. And again, I can assure you, every day at practice, they are shooting a lot of free throws. But like you said, you can't simulate a situation like that when you're doing practice on a Tuesday afternoon.
And the other part is, a lot of this is from the neck up. Because, again, you're not being guarded, you're not reacting, you're not playing. It's sort of like hitting a putt in golf, hitting a serve in tennis. It's you and your head space.
Yep.
And some guys don't have that ton of confidence in themselves to begin with at the line for technique or whatever it is, issues, concentration, whatever, and they just can't get over the hump at the line.
And the more you come up short in those situations, the worse it gets, because next time Nick Pringle goes to the free throw line, what's he probably going to be thinking back to? Oh, no, I missed those 2 very important shots at the end of the Auburn game.
Absolutely. And Nick brought up the Auburn fans there. Look, it's human nature. You've lost 2 in a row. Students still aren't back, I don't think.
Did class start today?
Yeah,
maybe?
I believe. So some might have been back on the weekend, but not everybody's back yet at that point. And you've got blown out your first two SEC games. So I'm sure there were Carolina fans who put those tickets up for auction, so to speak.
And again, that is now the number one team in the country with the 8 people coming out today, the team that thinks they are capable of making a deep run in the tournament. And their fans, look, Auburn's got alumni all over the place. It isn't just people driving over from Auburn, Alabama. So I'm sure a lot of them saw opportunity, maybe some cheap tickets.
Wait, you're telling me when folks graduate from Auburn, they don't stay in Auburn?
Typically not, because you know what's there's to do in Auburn besides the university?
What, Tyler?
Exactly. They go on to do other things.
All right, the women victorious easily over Texas in a top 5 battle that wasn't a battle at all. Gamecocks just rolled Texas from the tip. Here's Dawn Staley, and let's grab cut number 25. The only negative of this game was the fact South Carolina turned the ball over way too much and still smacked Texas all over the court. Here is Dawn Staley talking about the turnovers, but the team did take a ton of good shots.
It's all about taking good shots. I think you can have a night as far as having as many turnovers as we had with taking good shots. You lose games taking bad shots. And for us, we're finally getting to that point where we're taking better shots and we're taking rhythm shots. And it's paying off for us, especially in a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like for example, again, what a good shot is obviously you're open. Obviously you're in balance. Obviously you're getting the shot through the context of the offense, or you beat somebody off the bounce one-on-one and you get a good quality look. Whatever the case, that's like good shots. And South Carolina, not just in this game, but they have been running that offense better and getting a higher quality of shot. It's like anything. There's a reason why there's a strike zone in baseball. That's the zone to where you get the highest quality pitches, so you get a chance to get the highest quality hits.
Yep.
Same thing in basketball. You take the highest quality shot. Put it this way, for an example. Trying to beat 2 people off the dribble and taking a fadeaway jumper is not a high-quality shot.
No, it is not. And on the flip side of things, Carolina put Texas into a lot of positions to take very bad shots, which is why they were so poor shooting from the field. But again, like she said, you obviously want to clean up the turnovers, but when you're getting the looks that they were getting and making the buckets they were making, you can survive a game like that.
At one point, South Carolina was shooting 71% from the floor in the first half. They were crushing. And the other way you get high-quality shots, you're passing the ball, you move without the ball, and you get high-quality shots because you're beating the defense.
Yes.
You just are. And that's why moving without the ball and passing the basketball and moving it leads you to better quality looks, and why good offenses run when you're moving the ball and moving without the ball. It's not that difficult.
Yep.
It really isn't. And South Carolina did an excellent job. And like Dawn said, that gets you over having all those turnovers.
Yep.
All right, so obviously South Carolina has not lost since the UCLA game. Alabama is next. Matter of fact, the schedule real quick. On our sister station, 98.5 WOMG, Saturday, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. The women taking on Alabama.
That's Thursday.
Did I say Wednesday? Thursday is that game.
Wednesday's the men.
Yeah, Wednesday's the men. Thursday on WOMG, the women will take on Alabama. Wednesday, the men against Vandy, 5:30 pregame, 6 o'clock tip. A little earlier than usual, and that's here on 107.5 the game in Columbia and 100.3 the game in Myrtle Beach. So the women Thursday on WOMG and the men Wednesday on WNKT and on the game in Myrtle Beach. All right, we will jump back as we, it's dead, January 13th. Greatest day in the history of the world. That's next on the halftime show on the game. All right, greatest day in the history of the world is January 13th. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, halftime show here on the game. We go old school a little bit, two of them. Way back to 1962, Tyler. Wilt Chamberlain scores an NBA regulation record, 73 points, to lead Philadelphia to a 135-117 win over the Chicago Packers.
I have to ask anytime Wilt Chamberlain comes up, is there video evidence of it? I'm just saying. Got evidence of everything else.
Well, they say there's no video evidence of the 100 points.
Exactly. Which causes people to be skeptical. And out of that venue held 10,000 people. There's 80,000 people that claim to be there.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. There are people that said, I was there, like in Hershey. Oh, yeah. I was there. The 200,000 people can't be in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Something's not adding up here. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for the 73, though.
Yeah. 73. Well, a lot of Wilt's exploits don't have video to back
I
up.
know. It's just it's almost like a running joke.
Yeah, on the court and off the court.
Yeah, well, the less things seen off the court, probably the better. If you give me a video of the 100-point game, I'll be satisfied. That's all I need to see.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. I read a thing about who had the ball. Because again, think about the NBA. And again, look, we get it. It's years and years ago. I mean, when we think about some of the things we read about in the 50s and 60s, we go, really?
Sure.
Like they just beat the Chicago Packers, who were around for 1 year and then became the Chicago Zephyrs, and you're like, okay, don't remember watching any of those teams. But think about an NBA game being played in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Run that through your head for a minute.
I know. No, it's so funny to think, and this is for all sports leagues, the informalness of the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, 30, 40 years ago. And we've talked about this before, like the guys on the field up until the 70s, they weren't making much more than the people sitting in the stands. They weren't multimillionaires and stuff like that. And a lot of them had to go to work on Monday morning for practice.
We look up these guys that played in the 20s and 30s and 40s, like, like Snotface Hutchinson or whatever. And retired from football after 1 year to go work in the family business.
Exactly. He had to go to the steel mill because that was going to make him more money. Like it's in today's world where these leagues are, printing money hand over fist, and all these guys are multi-gajillionaires, we can never. And the accessibility of these guys was a lot easier back then, too, to where now, if you wanted to get close to Steph Curry, there's 90,000 bodyguards around, where back then you could probably walk up to Wilt after the game and get an autograph. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a world of difference than compared to now.
Well, I remember getting football cards when I was a kid, like tops, like baseball cards. And you'd see a football player would be like, in the offseason, John sells insurance.
Yeah, and he was a 28-year-old guy and that was balding.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Think about Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in the offseason sell insurance. No, they're making commercials for insurance companies that make them millions.
Insurance, they probably couldn't tell you the first thing about, actually.
They wouldn't know. And that's the difference. I mean, you would go up, players lived in your neighborhoods.
Sure.
And that's the one thing about, hearing those stories from, guys from my dad's generation who love the Baltimore Colts. Those dudes lived in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Johnny Unitas lived in the cul-de-sac.
Yes. Artie Donovan was sitting on his porch drinking a beer probably at 8 in the morning, and you would go up and sit next to him. Artie, what's up for this weekend?
Yeah, good game yesterday.
That's the world. I remember a story when I was a kid. This woman in the neighborhood was all giddy and going crazy, and they were like, "Oh, what's the deal, Thelma?" Wherever her name was. Oh my God! I talked to Jim Palmer at McDonald's. Jim Palmer today would own McDonald's.
Oh, sure.
He's not going in.
He's not eating that stuff.
No. So it's just a different world now. The accessibility, to your point. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. So the famous Mean Joe Green commercial with the kid, and he gives him the Coke and he gives him the drink. That kid will be arrested now.
Because
what are you doing in the tunnel?
That kid would get tased by Joe Green's bodyguards.
Exactly.
They'd be frisking him for weapons.
And he was 6-year-old with his face on the do not let into Three River Stadium at that point in time.
It's just a different world, man. 1974 on this day, the Miami Dolphins won their second straight Super Bowl in their third straight appearance, whipping up on the Minnesota Vikings 24-7. Of course, that was the year after the Dolphins had the undefeated 17-0. Then they won the Super Bowl in 74. They lost the year before the 17-0 to the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dolphins finishing up their three straight Super Bowl run. After that, I believe that's when the run of the Steelers started.
Yes, mid-70s. Because what year did they draft Bradshaw?
Well, 71, 72, somewhere like that. All right. Also on this day, greatest day in the history of the world, 1999, some guy named Michael Jordan announced his second retirement just prior to the start of the lockout-shortened 98-99 season. Of course, that's the year after The Last Dance when the Bulls had their six-peat,
and everybody was like,
so to speak.
For real this time?
Yeah, and everybody thought, yeah, absolutely, because at his age,
you gonna take up tennis this time or what?
Yeah. What do you want to go try? Hockey. I've been dying to play in the NHL.
Sure, why not?
Dad loved hockey. I'm going to go play hockey. Again, Jordan, obviously the 2-3-peats. 6 straight years of Jordan in a full season. The Bulls won the title.
Yep.
When he retired after it, I figured he was done. I did. I was like, okay, man, you proved your point. Whatever your reason you left for, and then you came back, you won 3 straight.
Or you were told to leave, depending on who you asked.
Or, some things could have been going on that were kind of shady. We can go into I'm putting on my tinfoil helmet about even his father's death and all the stuff that's out there.
It's all out there.
Wherever you left, man, you were done. I really thought he was done then. The Bulls had, again, you've watched The Last Dance. When he came back as a part owner and the president of the Wizards and a player and all that stuff, I never tell guys when to retire. I never say you should hang it up. What are you doing? There's no such thing as tarnishing a legacy. But I won't lie to you. I was like, man, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
I do find it funny that we as a collective public just choose to ignore those last couple of years.
Sure.
Like, all right, he retired as a Bull, and that was it.
Well, that's it. Well, like all these, ready? No one ever thinks of Jordan suiting up as a Wizard because it's like cringy.
Exactly.
Emmett Smith is an Arizona Cardinal. Franco Harris is a Seattle Seahawk. Johnny Unitas is a San Diego Charger, for the love of God. Joe Namath is a Ram. That's why I say you never tarnish a legacy, because what we do is we just push it out of our head. It never happened.
Sure.
We think of them with the teams they were with when they were at their highest level of achievement.
Exactly. It's very, very few times do you have a Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay and wins another Super Bowl. It does not usually occur like that.
No, it doesn't. It's just very rare. Joe Montana got the AFC Championship game with Kansas City. But that's the rare stories. A lot of times these guys go to other teams and things just don't end very well.
Yep.
On this day in 2006, Larry Brown becomes the 4th coach in NBA history to win 1,000 regular season games as the Knicks beat the Hawks. Larry Brown, we don't talk about how he is one of the greatest coaches in basketball history. Won a national championship at Kansas, got to the Final Four at UCLA, won an NBA championship as well in Detroit. Tons of teams to the playoffs in the NBA. Maybe because he came off as a miserable guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And again, some things followed Larry Brown around from his college days. But the guy can coach ball, man. He's just a great coach. A great coach. And he won his thousandth career game. Couldn't get that out on this day in 2006. And I'll throw a little local one for Tyler Head. 2013, some dude named Matt Bryant kicks a 49-yard field goal with 8 seconds left. Falcons bounce back after blowing a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter, and they hold on to beat Seattle 30-28 in the NFC divisional playoffs.
Yeah, they almost blew that one. And then they proceeded to blow the championship game to the 49ers the next week.
Oh, yeah.
And that started a run of those kind of things happening for the next couple of years. Little did we know. By the way, Matt Bryant, phenomenal kicker.
Yeah, he was. He was money.
He was.
You've had some good kickers in Atlanta over the years.
Yeah. Younghoe Koo, a little hit or miss this year. Now he's injured.
And then got hurt. And then, oof. All right, greatest day in the history of the world. We will Check out our Firehouse Sub Text the Hour next, 803-404-6100, and also do the handoff with Jay for the postgame show, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine. All that's coming up, halftime show. Tyler Head, David Ayer, Terry Ford here on the game. Firehouse Sub Text the Hour. We're doing our handoff as well, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine with our buddy Jay Phillips.
Howdy.
Who's here? Tyler Head, David Ayer, Terry Ford here on the game. All right, what do you got there on the old text machine?
We got another submission for what Ryan Day looks like. They said the villain from the Will Smith movie, Wild Wild West. It's kind of a blurry photo, but
no,
dark
that's
hair.
not bad.
He's got the twirled mustache.
Yeah.
Which, if you want Ryan Day to be more of a heel, then I guess he could go that route. But not far off. Good
It's
job.
not bad. I still think Bluto was the best.
Bluto was good.
That was the best.
I saw somebody. This was prior to Christmas.
Who played Bluto in that old Robin Williams?
Oh
movie?
my gosh, that's a great question. I got to look that up now. That's a great
Sorry, go
question,
ahead,
Jay
Tyler.
Phillips.
I saw somebody prior to Christmas that said Ryan Day looks like the guy in the Santa Claus movie that fires Santa Claus as he's like the department store manager and fires the actual Santa Claus right before Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like that. I thought that was a pretty apt comparison.
All right.
He just
That
kind of
ain't
looks
bad.
like that guy.
All right, the guy that played Bluto, Paul L. Smith. Me either.
Talk
If
about
you
a
see him,
generic
you
name.
go, okay.
I'm sure it's some great character actor.
Yeah,
of
that's
the,
what he is, a
of the
character
70s,
actor
80s.
that you saw in 100
Like that
movies.
guy.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Oh yeah, it was the neighbor's dad guy that did that thing.
And we always go like this, that guy was in that one movie.
Those are what I call IMDb actors.
Yeah.
Where you immediately have to search IMDb to see what they've been in.
Then you go, oh yeah.
Dude, listen, IMDb is maybe pound for pound. Is that the best website there is?
It might be.
I
It's
spend a lot
so
of time
good.
on it.
I mean,
It is so
It's just
good.
when you need anything about anything, it's there.
I know.
That website is phenomenal.
And then you go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
Like you hit the thing you're looking for, then you see another actor's
Right.
name or another movie. Oh yeah, and you hit that, and all of a sudden you've lost
Then
an hour of
there's
your
a
life.
list of movies like this movie.
And
Shows
then all
like
of a
this show.
You've gone sideways.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, I was on IMDb today because I wanted to see something about one of the guys on. My daughters and wife have loved the show New Girl,
Okay.
and I finally have, now that it's been off the air for 7 or 8 years.
Have you watched it now?
Yeah. No, we were. It was on Peacock. It's on Peacock.
It's a good show.
Oh, it's funny. It's like, I'm like, and they're all like, well, Dad, why haven't you been watching? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't have enough time.
Right.
But now, so the other day, anyway, I was on there today looking up something. And,
You start going down a rabbit
I know
hole.
what I was looking up. Like, if because Rob Reiner plays her dad, and
Okay.
I wanted to see how many times he was on as her dad. It's just a few.
Oh,
and
but
Jamie
that-
Lee Curtis plays her mom.
And then you start going all these different
Yeah,
directions about all these different movies and all that other stuff. I did that because I've been watching that show, The Agency,
Yep.
with Fassbender, Jeffrey Wright, and
yep,
everything, and which is really good. But then I went to the IMDb, and now I'm in 50 different directions. And I'm like, what have I done? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, and the girl that's playing the girlfriend, oh, she looks familiar. What was she in? And here I go. Oh, I remember that show. And before you know it, I look up, and it's, wow, 3 hours have passed. What have I done?
It's a good learning. It's a good. I like that site. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the flow.
We're just here doing
Now
things.
we're just making fun of Ryan Day. That's
yeah.
all.
We're just having a good time with Ryan Day.
And what's his bonus for winning a title?
I don't know. That's a good idea. He's going to have something.
Oh, I'm
There's
sure
no
it's good.
doubt. It's good.
No bonus. You're supposed to do that. You're at
Ohio State, right? How much money they take away from you if
Exactly.
you don't? That's
You
what should
don't.
be in the contract
You
at
get a
Ohio
reduction.
State. Absolutely.
We'll give you your full salary if you win.
So,
now I see the Bears want to talk to Marcus Freeman.
can I ask you this? I know I should. Here's my question: is that legit, or are we just filling out the Rooney Rule?
I don't know. I would think that's more legit than some.
I guess my question is, why would you want to talk to a guy that's been at Notre Dame for, 3 years now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, they're in the college football final. Give him props. But what is he doing there that makes you think he can translate to that to the NFL?
Well, is he? It's kind of like the Dan Lanning question. Are these guys good organizers of people? Because that's what you have to be in the NFL as much as you need to be. Listen, your X and O guy, you can pay them
He's
$3
your
or $4 million.
coordinator.
That's your coordinator.
He's your coordinator.
And for those who like McVay and a few others who want to call their own plays, that's great. Whatever, our boy in Minnesota. But I don't know. Is Marcus Freeman a good manager of people?
I guess my question, and it kind of goes under that, is a really good head coach is a great leader and a great culture setter.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what a head coach is.
I mean, look, and I'm serious when I say this to some degree anyway. The number of articles in the last 2 weeks that have had some theme of Marcus Freeman has made Notre Dame likable is something. You know what? I don't know. And to the eye of the beholder, it could be different things or not as big a thing, but I do think it's something. I just don't know how much. Like, I don't think he's going to become the Bears
No,
head
I
coach.
don't
Because for
either.
one thing, I think Notre Dame's going to go, hey, dude, you want some more money, and
sure.
you want to up the NIL budget and all that kind of stuff.
I think, again, I get now, are the Bears intrigued by what Freeman's done? Just to be fair, maybe they want to sit down and just listen and talk to him, and he's probably playing with house money to go interview with him anyway, because I don't think he's anywhere near the top of the list, but maybe you do that. I'll say this about the culture setter leader thing. I heard somebody bagging on Mike Vrabel being hired by the Patriots. Oh, you should have hired Ben Johnson. He can develop Drake May. What if Ben Johnson just a coordinator, not a head coach? I mean, does Vrabel have to go hire real offensive people and get out of their way? But is Vrabel a culture setter and a leader and a winner?
Yeah, I think so.